Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture session on fluid power systems. So myself Satish H, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Maharaja Institute of Technology, Mysore. So in this session we are going to cover the various concepts that are under the module number 1, that is Introduction to the Fluid Power Systems. The various topics that we are going to discuss in this session are listed out here. The first one is types of pipes, hoses and quick acting couplings. So in a hydraulic system we know it is comprises of various components such as a pump which forces the hydraulic fluid through the hydraulic system, and then we have various control valves, for example pressure control valve in order to control the pressure in a hydraulic system, and then we have this pressure and direction control valve, okay, etc. All these control valves control the pressure or a flow rate inside the hydraulic system. So and then at the end we have this actuator. So actuator where this hydraulic energy is converted into the mechanical energy, or the pressure energy which is stored in the fluid is converted into the mechanical energy. So and then from the actuator the fluid comes back to the tank or the reservoir. So in order to connect all these various components we need a conductors, those are called as pipes or the hoses. So those things we are going to discuss under this first topics. Under this heading we are going to discuss about what are the different types of these pipes, piping systems, and then what are the material they are made up of, on which parameters we are going to select those pipes for a particular application, and then we are going to discuss what are some of the advantages or disadvantages of different types of the conductors or the piping systems. And also we have one more concept under the first concept, that is quick acting couplings. So in some application there is a necessity arises that a piping system should be disassembled from the conductor or from the components frequently. In those cases we need these quick acting couplings. So in a matter of 1 or 2 seconds we have to disassemble and then assemble the pipes, okay. So in those cases we use these quick acting couplings. So those types also we are going to discuss under the heading, the first heading. So the second concept what we are going to discuss is pressure drop in hoses and the pipes. So as we know that all the components of hydraulic system are connected by the pipes, and then through which an hydraulic fluid is flowing. So whenever a fluid flows through the pipe, okay, there is a loss of energy, which is loss of energy when the fluid is flowing through the pipes. So those losses are basically classified as major and minor losses. So under this heading we are going to discuss when does this major loss happens, and what are the formulas that can be used to calculate the friction losses or the head losses, and then what do you mean by the minor losses, okay. So what are the conditions under which the minor losses can happen. So all these concepts we are going to discuss under the second heading, and that is a pressure drop in hoses and then the pipes. And then third important concept that we are going to discuss is, or that we are going to learn is fluid conditioning through the filters and strainers, okay. So one of the important prerequisite or the important condition for the fluid power system in order to operate efficiently is that fluid should be clean. What do you mean by the clean is that it should be free from the solid contaminants or the insoluble contaminants, okay. So we have these devices, that is filters and strainers, they remove the insoluble contaminants or the solid particles from the hydraulic system and then helps to keep that hydraulic fluid clean, okay. So under this heading we are going to discuss what do you mean by the filter, and then what is the size of the a solid particle that a filter can remove, and then what do you mean by the strainer, what is difference between strainer and then the filter, and then the filters are again classified based on different criteria. For example, the method of filtering, okay, they are classified as mechanical filter, absorbent and adsorbent filters, and then they are also classified based on the location of the filter, okay. We have a hydraulic system, okay, so where you can locate this a filter, okay. So before the pump, after the pump, in the pressure line or the in the return line. Based on this, the filters are classified, okay. So that we are going to discuss under this heading, okay. And also there is one more criteria on which the filters are classified is that, so based on the amount of the hydraulic fluid passes through these filters, okay. So based on this, they are classified as a full flow filters and then a proportional flow filters, okay. So all those things we are going to discuss under the heading fluid conditioning through the filters and then the strainers, okay. The fourth topic that we are going to learn is that source of contamination and then contamination control, okay. The contamination, what do you mean by the contamination is, these are the insoluble a small particles are the contaminants, okay, in the hydraulic fluid, okay. So under this heading we are going to discuss about what are the different contaminants that can affect this hydraulic system. So and as well we are going to discuss about what are the sources from where these contaminants can enter into the system, okay, for example during the maintenance, okay. So like various sources we are going to discuss in detail, okay. So under this heading, okay. And one more topic under the same heading what we are going to discuss is the contamination, the classification, okay, of these contaminants, okay, based on the clearance. Clearance is a small gap between the moving parts, okay. With relative to the size of the clearance we are going to classify them. So that is also we are going to discuss under this heading. So to begin with, we will start with the first topic, that is types of pipes, hoses and quick acting couplings, okay. You know that if you take the human body, for example, you have a circulatory system, for example. What does the circulatory system does is the heart, okay, which pumps the oxygenated blood to the different parts of the system, for example to the digestive system or to the nervous system, etc. And then deoxygenated blood from the all these various systems or the organs will come back to the heart, okay. So in order to conduct this blood, in order to transmit this blood from the heart to the different organs and back to the heart, we have this something called as a veins and arteries, okay. These veins and arteries are pipe like structures. They will help to communicate the blood, or they take the blood from one organ to the other organ, okay. In the similar fashion, in a hydraulic system what we have is from the pump, okay. So the hydraulic oil is drawn from the reservoir and then it is goes to the various control valves, pressure control valves, direction control valves or flow control valves, and then later to the actuator. From the actuator the fluid again comes back to the reservoir, okay. So in order to combine all these different components, or in order to connect all these different components, we need these piping systems. They are in general they are called as a conductors. So these are piping systems are we need these hoses. So basically these types of conductors, what are the different types of conductors what we have is, one is steel pipes, okay. So and then the steel tubing is the second type of a conductor or a piping system, and then the plastic tubing and then the flexible hoses, okay. So all these types of these piping systems or the conductors cannot suit for one particular application, okay. So based on the design and application of the hydraulic system and then based on the various parameters, as a designer of an hydraulic system we have to choose a suitable pipe or the conductor for that particular applications, okay. So if you are designing an hydraulic system, what are the parameters you are going to consider while choosing these like a piping systems, okay. One of the important parameters, okay, is system operating pressure and then the flow rates, okay. So how does this system operating pressure affect, okay. So if we have this a plastic tubing for example, okay. So and then if the system operating pressure is too high, okay, then probably they may not be sustained such an high pressures, okay. Then you can go for a steel tubing or the steel pipes, okay. So and then there are some additional parameters on which a designer of an hydraulic circuit can choose these pipes. The additional parameters are for example, temperature, and then the fluid type, and then the vibration. Okay. So temperature is also a very important parameter which you have to look into while designing an hydraulic circuit, because if you are using a plastic pipes, and then if the system operating temperature is very high, then the plastic might not sustain such an high temperatures. Okay. So in those cases you can go for the steel tubes or the steel pipings. And then you have a fluid type. Okay. Fluid type is also important parameter, because like a fluid, some of the fluids are such that they can immediately react with the like a pipes. Okay. If it is made up of a steel, okay, then there might be a chemical reaction between them, and then there is a formation of some chemicals, okay, that might enter into the fluid, fluid that will contaminate the fluid. Okay. So in those cases we should take care of which type of the fluid you are using, and then based on that you have to choose the piping systems what we have. Okay. And then depending upon the vibrations, okay, so of course this hydraulic system contains the various moving components, for example pumps, the valves, and then the actuators. Okay. So definitely vibration comes into the pictures. Okay. So based on this, like which type of pipe performs better under the vibration, that you should go for this. Okay. That you should select a proper the piping system that will sustain these vibrations. Okay. So coming back to these types of like a conductors, the steel type, the one of the advantage of this steel pipe is that it is inexpensive compared to the steel tubing. And then steel tubing, if you come, what are these some of the advantages are, okay, it is very flexible in plumbing. Okay. In a plumbing operation, when you are designing or assembling an hydraulic system, it is very flexible, and then which appears after assembling, it appears very neat in appearance. Okay. That is one more the advantage of this the steel tubing. Okay. And then you can need a very few fittings, okay, in the case of a steel tubing. So and then the plastic tubing, so which is very widely used in an industry because of the reason that it is not so costly. Okay. It is cheaper, okay, compared to the other types, and then it is also a very flexible, and then in designing these hydraulic circuits. And then there is one more important type, that is called as flexible hoses. Okay. Flexible hoses are used whenever there is a movement of the components of the hydraulic system takes place. So for example, you might have seen this excavator or JCB. What does a JCB does is, it digs the material, probably the sand or the sand, and then put it into the other place, or load it into the trucks. Okay. You might have seen that on the boom of this excavator, you have these piping systems. Okay. Normally those piping systems are the hoses. Okay. Those are the flexible hoses they use. Okay. Why? Because you have a cylinder and piston arrangement. The piston is moving, okay, so to and fro in order to move the bucket, okay, in order to take the material and then put it into the to the different place. Okay. So in those cases we can use these hoses. Okay. So where we have the movement of the components of our hydraulic system is encountered, then we are going for this hoses. Okay. So how do you manufacture these hoses? The hoses are manufactured in the layers. Okay. Like a few layers to the like a maximum of 3 to 4 layers you can have. So outer layer is normally a elastomer, which is a synthetic rubber, and then the inner layer will be a braided fabric, or a metal braided metal part will be there. Okay. So this braided fabric or the braided metal rod, what it does is, it helps to sustain the very high pressures that is incurring inside the hydraulic systems. Okay. So that is about these the types of conductors, and then the selection parameters. Okay. And then the what are some of the advantages of these parameters, advantages of these conductors we have. So next important on the same under the same heading is the quick acting couplings. Okay. So sometimes the necessity arises, okay, whenever the conductors or the pipes should be disassembled from the components, okay, frequently. Okay. So probably in 1 or 2 seconds we have to disassemble it and then assemble it. Okay. In those cases we need a quick acting couplings, okay, in order to disassemble and then assemble the pipings from the components. Okay, so they are classified as straight through, and then one-way shut-off, and then the two-way shut-off. Okay, so one of the the straight through. Okay, in this case there is a loss of fluid. Okay, there is a severe loss of fluid because when you disassemble it, okay, the both ends are not closed. Okay, for example, if I take this pen, okay, imagine this is a socket and then this is one more end, and then this is a coupling I am using here. If I disassemble this, okay, so this is connected to the source, probably the pump, and then this is connected to the actuator. So when I disassemble it, the fluid flows from this end as well as this end as well. Okay, so in the straight through there is no blockage of the fluid at the both ends. That is why there is a loss of fluid on the both ends. Okay, so this is one of the disadvantage of this type of quick acting coupling. Okay, next is one-way shut-off valve. Okay, so in the case of one-way shut-off valve, the end which is connected to the source, that is a pump, is blocked. Okay, for example, if I using this take the similar example, if I remove this coupling or disassemble this coupling, imagine this end is connected to the pump. This has a valve that will close the loss of fluid from this end. Okay, so another end is open. Okay, so what it means to say is, okay, so there is a loss of fluid but not much loss of fluid as compared to the straight through couplings. Okay, so and then two-way shut-off valves. Okay, this is gives a very positive sealings. Okay, so in the previous classes we discussed that what do you mean by the positive sealing. That means no leakage whatsoever. Okay, what happens in this case when you disassemble, okay, the coupling here. Okay, so on the both the ends of this a pressure line, okay, the valves are closed and then these are blocked. That means the fluid does not flow from this end and this end as well, and then so there is a positive seal. There is no loss of fluid or the leakage whatsoever in the case of a two-way shut-off valve. Okay, so that is about the quick acting coupling and its types. So let us move on to the second the topic, that is the losses. Okay, loss of pressure drop in the hoses and the pipes. Okay, we know that. So whenever the fluid flows through a pipe, okay, there is a definitely loss of energy. So loss of we call it as a frictional loss or the head loss. So there are basically two types of losses. One is a major loss and one more is the minor loss. Okay, so the reason for this major loss is the friction. Okay, when the fluid is flowing, so there is a layers. It is fluid flows in the terms of a layers. Okay, there is a friction between the adjacent layers as well as the between the fluid and then the walls of the pipe. Okay, so this friction results in the major losses. Okay, so the one of the formulas that is widely used to calculate the how much is the loss due to the friction is that is called as a Darcy-Weisbach equation, that is given by HF is equal to 4F LV square divided by T into 2G. Okay, where L is the length of the pipe. Okay, what is the amount of a length of the pipe, and then V is the mean velocity of the flow. When the fluid is flowing through the pipe means it has certain mean velocity that is normally taken in the units meters per second, and then D is the diameter of the pipe, that is in meters, and then HF is the head loss due to the friction that we are interested in, that here we want to calculate. And then F is the friction coefficient. I mean this is this depends upon the Reynolds number. Okay, so this is a formula that is Darcy-Weisbach equation that is used to calculate the major losses. And then we have this minor losses. Okay, so if we have a piping system, okay, there might be a bend in the pipe. Okay, there might be sudden expansion in the pipe or sudden contraction in the pipe. What do you mean by the sudden expansion is that a certain diameter changes to the other diameter. For example, 10 centimeter diameter pipe suddenly gradually changes to the a 15 centimeter pipe. Okay, that is sudden expansion of the pipe. Contraction means the diameter changes to the lesser diameter. So in those cases also there is a loss is happening. So those are comes under the minor losses. And then there is a bend in the pipe that will also result in the losses, that is comes to the minor losses as well. And then various pipe fittings results in a minor losses, and then an obstruction in the pipe. Okay, so that will also result in the minor losses. Okay, these are the losses. They are like minor losses and then the major losses that can happen when the fluid is flowing through the hydraulic system or the pipings or the conductors. And the third topic that we are going to discuss is fluid conditioning through the filters and strainers. So, as I said before, the important necessity of this fluid systems or hydraulic systems is that you need to have a clean fluid which doesn't have any insoluble contaminants in it. Okay. So, what does this filters and strainer do is which helps to like keep the fluid clean by removing the solid contaminants. The filters basically are by having some porous medium. So, it has it has a porous medium that will remove the solid contaminants in it. The minimum size of the particle that can be removed with the help of this filter is about 1 micrometer. So, and then the strainer, we can call this strainer as a coarse filter. Okay. So, the mesh size in the case of a strainer is more compared to the filter, and then the size of the particle that can be removed with the help of this strainer is about approximately equal to 150 micrometer. And then normally these strainers have lesser pressure drops, so that is installed in the suction line of this pump. And then between this pump and then this strainer, we have this a pressure indicator that will indicate the clogging or the blockage of this filter. Okay. When there is a lot of contaminants, okay, this strainers gets blocked, okay, then the pressure drop increases, then we can remove that filter or the replace or the we can clean that filter and put it back. So, and then like while talking about this size of this particle, we have said that filters can remove 1 micrometer and then the strainer can remove 150 micrometer. In order to have this understanding, what is how like a relative understanding of this size. Okay. So, if you take this grain of salt, okay, so it will measure the diameter of this grain of salt will measure about 100 micrometers. Okay. Similarly, if you take this hair strand, okay, human hair strand, that will measure about 70 micrometers. Okay. Imagine a grain of salt, okay, is 100 micrometer and then filter can remove 1 micrometer, that means 100 times lesser than this grain of salt. That small contaminants can be removed with the help of this filters. Okay. So, and then the filters are classified based on various criteria, and then first criteria is method of filtering. The first like based on this method of filtering, they classified as mechanical filters, absorption filters and adsorption filters. And then mechanical filters are normally they are a cloth or metal screens, okay, or series of metal discs are separated by the spacers. Okay. So, those are called as a mechanical filters, and then these filters can filter a relatively coarse contaminants or the insoluble solids. Okay. So, you have to understand this, what do you mean by the coarse and then the fine. Okay. The fine is very small size particles, maybe 1 micrometer, and then the coarse particles are like relatively more in diameter or the size compared to the fine particles. And then the second one is the absorption filters. Okay. So, here we use some a porous or permeable material such as a paper or a cellulose, okay, so asbestos, etc., in order to filter, okay, the solid contaminants from it. Okay. Normally the paper is supported with some kind of a resin in order to give the mechanical support to that filter. So, and then this type of filters can remove very fine particles as well. Okay. So, and then the third one is the adsorption filters. Adsorption is a phenomenon, it is a surface phenomenon where the ability of the particles to clinch or to attach to the surface of the filter material. Okay. So, whenever this filter material surface area increases, the capacity of filtration is also increases. Okay. So, some of the examples for these kind of materials are activated clay, okay, activated clay or chemically treated paper are these some of the examples for adsorption filters. Okay. This is based on a method of filtering, the classification, and then based on this the amount of oil filtered, okay. So we can classify them as full flow filter and then bypass or proportional flow filter, okay. What do you mean by the full flow filter is that, okay, if certain amount of fluid enters at the inlet of this filter, okay, the same quantity, all of the fluid which should come out at the outlet of the filter, okay. So for this we have this sketch, okay. Here the fluid is entering into this filter here, and then on the both the sides it will enter into the filter, and then after filtration, after the solid contaminants are removed, at this mesh or the filter element, okay, the clean fluid leaves this system at this point here, okay. So and then this is obviously, since whole of this fluid is passes through this filter element, this is obviously most efficient filtering element what we have, and then the pressure drop across these filter element is very high, okay. That is one of the disadvantages of that, okay. The clogging or the blockage of this filter element happens frequently. And then one more type of the filter which is based on the amount of oil which is filtered is bypass filter or proportional flow filter. Here in this case, not the total amount of fluid will be going to pass through the filter, only the portion of the fluid which is coming in the main line is going to pass through this filter here, okay. For example, the full flow is coming here, and then the portion of this like a fluid is taking this direction, and then it is entering into this filter here on the both the sides. After filtering, it will enter into the main line here, okay. You can observe this diameter of this main line is reduced, okay, that is Venturi, that means the difference in diameters, okay. So that will create a localized pressure. So based on that amount of localized pressure created, so much amount of fluid is going to enter into this a filter, okay. That is why it is called as a proportional filter, because the proportionate to the amount of the pressure we have, that is the amount that is going to enter into this filter here, okay. So that is about the amount. Based on amount of oil filter, we can classify them as full flow filters and then bypass or proportional flow filters. And then third classification is a location of the filter, okay. You know that a hydraulic system consists of a pump, and then followed by that we have a different types of the valves, okay, pressure control valves or flow control valves or direction control valves, and then actuators, and then the fluid can come back from the system, that is from the actuator back to the tank, okay. So before going to discuss these types, you should know this, what do you mean by the pressure line and what do you mean by the return line, okay. The pressure line is the fluid which is forced, okay, and then the fluid from the tank is taken, and then it is passes through this control valves and goes to the actuator. At the actuator, the hydraulic energy is converted into mechanical energy. After doing this desired work, it will come back to the tank again. That is called as a return line. Return line is from a valve to the tank or from the actuator to the tank, okay. So in the intake or the inline filter, okay, we have this filter which is placed just before the pump here, okay. So this is the position of this filter here, okay. We have the oil and then the tank which contains the oil, and then a pump draws the oil through this filter, okay. So which is placed before this one, okay. So you should make sure that this filter is a coarse filter, because you should not have the high pressure drops, okay. If you have a fine mesh or the fine filter, you will have a more pressure drops coming into this one, okay. So the main function of this filter is to prevent this the pump from the solid contaminants, okay. And then second one, we have this pressure line filter, where we place this filter just after the pump, okay. So in this case, this will prevent the components such as actuators and then different types of the valves, pressure control valve or the flow control valves from the contaminants, okay. So and one more type of this, the last type of this the position where we can place the filter is, which is in the return line. So here we have a pump and then the system, and then the fluid is returning to the tank through this line, and then we have placed the filter here, okay. So this will prevent the contaminants entering into the oil, tank as well as the pump, okay. This will prevent the pump and then the tank from the contaminations, okay. So this can be of the coarse type of the filter, because the complete flow will go through that, and then it can sustain the higher hydraulic pressures, okay. Thank you. The last topic that we are going to discuss today is about source of contamination and contamination control. So for the reliable operation of the hydraulic systems, we need a clean fluid. Okay, so the clean fluid means it is free from the contaminants or insoluble small particles in the hydraulic fluid. So the common contaminants that can occur in any hydraulic systems are listed out here. That is particulate matter. Okay, it could be a dirt or a dust, okay, or some of the metal chips which are coming from various components of the hydraulic system. And then second one is the water can also be a contaminant. In an hydraulic fluid, if the water gets into the system, okay, that water comes in contact with the metal parts, that will result in a rust or corrosion. And then air is also a one more type of a contaminant, because the air contains dirt as well as a moisture that will when it comes in contact with metal surfaces, for example in the reservoir, that will also result in a rust or the corrosion. So the last the contaminant is chemical reaction products. For example, it could be a gums or the sludges. Okay, so these are the various common types of contaminants that can be that can add it to the hydraulic fluid. Okay, that will have an effect on the efficiency or the operation of an hydraulic system. So next is the important topic, that is a source of contamination. Okay, so what are the sources, okay, from where these contaminants or the solid particles can get into the hydraulic system or can get into the or mixed with the hydraulic fluid. Okay, so the first one is built-in metal chips. Okay, so for example, while during this welding scale, during the welding process, the scales from the welding can get into the system or can mix into the hydraulic fluid. Also a sand from the casting can also be like mixed into the hydraulic system, that can that will act as an contaminant. Okay, so like a lapping compound, and then metal chips or the metal materials or the small particles during the machining process also can enter into the hydraulic system, that can act as a contaminants, and later on they can block the filters and then cause the efficiency of this or the operation of this hydraulic system can go down. So next is generated within the system during the operation. We know that the hydraulic fluid which is flowing inside this hydraulic system are moving at a higher velocities. Okay, so when this fluid has this higher velocities, that can erode or erode the inner surfaces of the piping systems as well as the surfaces of the various components of a hydraulic system. For example, pump, or it could be different types of control valves or the actuators. Okay, so when these inner surfaces erode, that eroded small particles can get into this or mix into this the hydraulic fluid. That is also a one more source of a contaminants or the solid particles that can result, okay, in the that can affect the operation of a hydraulic system. And then from the external source, like as we discussing in the common contaminants, air is also one of the contaminants. If the air gets into the reservoir or the tank, and then when it comes in contact with this the surfaces of the tank, that air contains dirt as well as it contains the moisture. Okay, that can result in the corrosion. That corrosion products can mix up into the hydraulic fluid, that will be a contaminant that acts as a contaminant. And then there is a generated during the maintenance. Okay, so what we do in any hydraulic system is that, so we have to maintain the system, so because it consists of various moving parts, for example pump and then control valves and etc. So it has to be maintained like time to time. During the maintenance, what you do is you open the component and then close the component or assemble or disassemble the component frequently. So that will expose the inner surfaces of the component to the atmosphere, unfavorable conditions or the environment. Okay, so that will also probably when you open these components, a dirt might come into the contact with the surfaces of inner surfaces of the component, or that the air is come in contact with this inner surfaces of the component, that can result in the rust or the corrosion. So eventually that rust or corrosion products will be added to the hydraulic fluid as the contaminants. And then during the assembly stage, what happens is like uncleared blurs, okay, so around this piping systems, those metal chips can enter into the hydraulic fluid. And also during the assembly stage, various components, if they are kept outside, and then if it is not a favorable environment, okay, so that will also result in a formation of the contaminants. And then eventually when you assemble those components, then those contaminants will get into the hydraulic fluid. And then last one is like acid byproducts like sludges and elastomers. We know that these sealing materials are made up of the kind of plastic that is called as synthetic plastic, that is elastomer. The part of that can small particles of this elastomers can get into the fluid, and then that can act as a contaminants. Okay, that is about the common contaminants and sources of contaminants, from where these contaminants can get into the hydraulic fluid. And then next is effect of contaminations. Okay, definitely these contaminants can affect the operation of this hydraulic system. So what are those effects? Let us see this. Okay, the first one is the power transmission and cooling process and lubricating ability. Okay, these are the important areas, okay, where these contaminants will affect. Okay, the second one is flow control valve. The FCV stands for flow control valve, PCV stands for pressure control valve. The blocking. Okay, so during the operation, when these solid contaminants, okay, so they can block the small orifices or the spaces, okay, inside these various types of the flow control valves. Okay, so this is unpredictable and then unsafe, and then this will result in the improper operation of this flow control valves. Okay, so that is one of the effect of this having a contaminants in the hydraulic fluid. The another effect or the disadvantage is it affects the cooling process. Okay, so we know that the fluid which is flowing through this hydraulic system, okay, it has the temperatures, and then because it is flowing through various components like a pump and then the control valves and the actuator, it could have acquired a certain amount of heat or the temperature. That heat has to be removed time to time. So when the fluid gets back to this reservoir, so from the walls of the reservoir, the heat is dissipated to the surrounding atmosphere. Okay, so what happens if you have the contaminants inside the reservoir? Those will form a kind of sludge on the walls of the inside walls of the reservoir. So that will affect the heat which is transferred from the fluid, okay, to the walls will be affected. Okay, so the proper heat transfer doesn't take place because of the presence of the sludge on the walls of the inner walls of the reservoir. Okay, so that means to say, when you have a contaminants, that is definitely going to affect the a cooling process or a cooling process of the hydraulic system. Okay, so that will result in a higher operating temperatures, which is not desirable. So and then the next one is it is going to affect the lubricating ability. Okay, this is an important the effect or the disadvantages of having a contaminants in an hydraulic system, or not having a clean fluid in a hydraulic system. Okay, so we know that what is a lubrication is that when you have a two moving parts. Okay, so in order to have a smooth movement, we need to have a lubrication. Okay, so for example, piston and cylinder assembly, in order to move this piston inside the cylinder smoothly, so we need a lubrication between that. Okay, so we have kind of clearance between the piston outer surface and then the cylinder surface. Okay, so when this lubricating oil having the contaminants, okay, that is definitely going to affect this the lubricating capabilities of this hydraulic fluid. Okay, so classification of the solid contaminants. Okay, so based on the a relative size of this contaminants with respect to the clearance, we classified they can be classified as they are smaller than the clearance, and then equal to the clearance, and larger than the clearance. Okay, so in this sketch we have, okay, this contaminant, okay, which is greater than the clearance. The size of the particle or the contaminant is greater than the clearance. Okay, and then some of the contaminants have equal size as that of the clearance. Okay, and some contaminants are lesser than the clearance. Okay, so we will discuss like what happens if the like a smaller contaminants, that is the size of the contaminants is smaller than the clearance, what happens is they enter this clearance here and then they start to accumulate at one point. Okay. So over the period of operation, okay, they tend to block the flow of the fluid in between the inside the clearance. Okay. And then this will affect the lubricating capabilities of this fluid, I mean lubricating capability of this operation or the inside the clearance. Okay. And then when you have this larger the particle size compared to the clearance, also this will block the flow of the fluid into the clearance. Okay. So that will affect the lubrication of the moving parts. And then if you have this clearance, I mean size of the particles are equal to the size of the clearance, okay, they can enter the clearance, but they can they will rub against the moving parts. Okay. So that will increase the wear of these moving parts, and then the clearance will gradually increases. Okay. So when the clearance increases, more dirt or contamination enters into this the clearance, and then there is a problem of leakage. When you have a more clearance, that means internal leakage can happen. So those are some of the disadvantages of having this with the equal sized particles entering into the clearance. Okay. So this is about the source of contamination and contamination control, and then classification of this the particles. Okay. So based on this relative size of the clearances. Okay. Thank you so much.